Hi, so today we're here with Aaron, who's a product assistant here at KE, and you're going to tell us all about the Tour de Monte Rosa circuit.
Yep.
So, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, what is it all about? Where does it take you?
Yeah, so the Tour du Mont Rosa Circuit starts out in Switzerland
Mhm.
in the Sass Valley. Sass Al Miguel is where we started last year. And you basically follow the route all the way around the Monte Rosa massif.
Mhm.
And you go into Italy and then cross back into Switzerland just underneath the Matterhorn, going down into Zermatt, and then all the way back up to the top of the massif and back to Sass Al Miguel from there.
Nice, so it goes a long way.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions when you started the trek?
You definitely, I mean, before you go out, you look at a lot of maps and you always look where you're going
Yeah.
and stuff. And it is a big area to cover by foot.
Mhm.
And I think definitely the first day, it's a bit of a feeling of nerves because
Yeah.
you've got so far to cover. You question whether you've got the fitness and stuff, but you quite quickly start to it just gets changed, swapped for excitement
Yeah.
because you're looking around, you're in this amazing scenery, amazing mountains, there's glaciers. It's incredible.
Yeah. So that's so I feel like when I've looked at pictures of it, it looks quite similar, or maybe not similar, but similar to other alpine treks. How does it compare to the something like the Tour de Mont Blanc?
Yeah, it's similar in a lot of ways to the Tour de Mont Blanc. You're on same kind of trails, really good marked dirt tracks most of the time. A lot of alpine passes each day. You pretty much cover a pass with usually around 1,000 meters averages out
Okay.
ascent a day, about
Yeah.
1,000 meters descent. So in that way, it's very similar to the
Mhm.
Tour de Mont Blanc, but in a lot of other ways, it's harder.
Yeah.
You're carrying a lot of your own equipment whilst you're out there. You carry everything with you, so your clothes, any jackets, waterproofs, all
Mhm.
that comes with you. Luckily, you don't have to carry any food. That's all
Yeah.
provided in
Okay,
huts.
that's good.
Um, and it's also a lot more quiet.
Mhm.
So the Tour de Mont Blanc's incredibly popular for a very good reason. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But the Tour de Monte Rosa is a little less well known,
Mhm.
a lot quieter. You're not going to run into as many people on the trails. I think while we were out there, we ran into maybe 3 or 4
Oh
people a
wow.
day.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that was it. Especially once you got outside of the village where you started in the morning or the
Mhm.
hut in the morning. Once you left there, you pretty much had trails to yourself for most of the day.
Yeah, that's probably very different from the TMB.
Yeah.
And then out of all our alpine treks, this is probably one of the more challenging ones.
Hmm.
What makes it challenging?
It's that carrying all of your own equipment.
Yeah.
That's the hardest bit, and it's big days. So straight away on the first day, you've got around a 1,600 meter descent,
Mhm.
and that's a good way to bring the legs into the whole
Yeah.
walk. By the end of that, you're definitely feeling it.
Mhm.
Um, and starting each morning with a fresh pack, so you've got all of your clothes in there. It's heavier
Yeah.
in the morning because you've got 2 liters of water,
Mhm.
which absolutely would recommend to take with you
Yeah.
whilst you're walking because it can get quite warm during the day. And I think that's what separates it out is
Mhm.
that it's self-supported.
Yeah.
So you haven't got a bigger bag moving from
Mhm.
hotel to hotel or hut to hut. It's all on you to get the
Yeah.
stuff from the start to the end.
What you take out with you is what's going to be with you each day,
Yeah.
basically. So, how did you prepare for it? And
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough that I live in the Lake District,
Mhm.
so it was a lot of back-to-back hiking days, going out for a long day on Saturday and then
Yeah.
another long day on Sunday, trying to get used to having the pack on my back, trying to emulate the weight that would be in it as
Yeah.
much as possible. That's quite important, especially for finding out if the pack fits properly
Mhm.
and that you've got the fitness to carry it up and downhill over a
Yeah.
long period. But aside from that, a lot of running, walking, that sort of stuff is all good for building a base for
Yeah,
it.
just building up that stamina.
Yeah.
And then how many days did you do for the trek?
Whilst on trek,
Yeah.
I think it worked out as 9 days.
Okay, so whatever you did at the weekend, you just had to multiply that
Yeah,
by quite a few.
you have to multiply it out,
Yeah.
and kind of it's good to maybe do, especially if you're not used to big days back to
Mhm.
back. Start with some smaller ones and just increase those.
Yeah.
What I found on trek was the first 2 days were the hardest.
Yeah.
Once you'd finished them, you'd kind of got into a rhythm with the walking.
Yeah, you kind of walk into the fitness, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you build the fitness as you go as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, that helped out a lot. doing
Nice.
that beforehand.
What day do you think you found the toughest then? Would it be one of those first 2 days or?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first 2 days were the toughest. I remember the first day getting up over the pass. That was quite tough.
Yeah.
Like you'd finished the first pass and then dropping down was 1,600 meters of descent.
Your knees, oh
You
my God.
immediately feel it.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up the next morning in the hotel and thinking, like, I'm quite stiff already.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just making sure that you get up and you get moving and you
Yeah.
stretch a bit. And then by the time you were leaving the village the next morning to head on to the next day, which is another huge day,
Yeah.
you'd got into it.
Yeah.
And
so-
having a great group as well really helped. You know, you're just chatting to each other and everyone's feeling the same way, so that you're all
Yeah.
supporting each other, and that's one of the highlights, I think.
Yeah, because you're all in it together, you can really understand how the other person's feeling. So, what did a typical day look like on the trek?
Yeah, it's not too early starts. I think a lot of the times when people think the treks would be super early mornings, they're not crazy. I think most mornings we were getting up around 7, quarter to
Okay,
7.
that's fair.
Which isn't too bad.
Yeah.
You know, you still got plenty of time to sleep, and
Yeah.
it's not too crazy get up times, but it's usually a really good breakfast. So everywhere that we stopped, whether it was a hut or a hotel, you were getting multiple courses of like pastries, yogurts,
Nice.
everything, coffee, loads
All
of
the
coffee.
good things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you usually had a morning. The morning was quite a good bit of trekking, usually a lot of climbing to start the day. Most of the climbing for the days start out immediately, which is nice because you can get it out of the way quite quick.
Yeah.
Some places had coffee stops along the route for the different huts that you walk past, or different places that would serve coffee or ice cream, which was a really nice place to stop off. Then you have your lunch. Usually that's a sandwich that's prepared by the hut or the hotel the night before, which is always amazing, and some fruit. And then the afternoon was almost always downhill. So the descent right into the hut or the hotel, and then an evening of like really good food and some drink, and then go
Just
and
rest.
sleep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a good way to live life, though.
Yeah,
I would
it's not
enjoy
bad.
9 days of that.
Yeah, I could do it for a long time.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
And then, obviously, we've talked quite a bit about how challenging it is, but what are the highlights that come of this?
The sense of achievement, having done it, is great. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and it's a very tough trip, but it's not out of the realms of anyone who is a regular trekker or mountain walker. Like, you can definitely get to that fitness level and do it. And the feeling once you've done it, the accomplishments, like, you feel great. You know, you've covered all of that area looking at a map, and you think, well, I did all that on foot. And that's pretty cool. And some of the views, you know, you get to see the Matterhorn while you're out there. You get to see Spitz, Monte Rosa, all these, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, these incredible peaks. And then, out of this, like, were there any particular viewpoints that stuck out to you? Was it like seeing the Matterhorn or?
Yeah, probably for me, the Matterhorn.
Yeah.
The Matterhorn day for me was amazing. It's a mountain I've always wanted to see.
Yeah, it's such an iconic shape.
And the first time you see it, there's no questioning that that's the Matterhorn when you see it for the first time. And that's such a cool feeling. Coming over, you know, you come out of, there's this little lake area, and then you come up onto the ridge, and it's just there, and it's this absolutely stunning, amazing thing. And seeing that in the evening, staying at the hut with the sun setting and the light on it, it's incredible.
Yeah, I suppose that's like one of the really good things about this type of trek is that once you're out there, you continue being out there because it's like a hut to hut trek. What were the huts like?
Huts were really good. Yeah, I think a lot of people might hear the word hut and think that they're going to be quite simple, or you're really going to be with the bare bones. But pretty much all of the huts bar one had showers and hot water and everything that you could ever want from like a hotel. All of the huts had like a 3 to 4 course meal at night of pasta, soup, main course, dessert. So you never wanted for any food.
Yeah, you're going to want that after doing all that walking as well.
Yeah, it's a huge day, and to refuel immediately is great. But yeah, they're really good, and the beds were always super comfortable, usually in like a bunk setup. So, you know, you had your own bed, but it was, about 4 people to a room normally.
Nice. So yeah, it's not just like a little shed on the side of a hill. It's like
No.
a
These
proper...
are like almost hotels, basically.
Yeah, nice.
They feel good.
And then what was the atmosphere like in the hut after like a day of walking?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, like you get in and everyone's quite tired, but everyone's
Yeah.
kind of like riding on a high of having finished a really tough day.
Hmm.
And it's always good to celebrate with a beer or soft drink or whatever's your choice at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's always a really good atmosphere at that time.
Hmm.
Lunch is always really good as well. Sorry, dinner's always really good as
Yeah.
well. Everyone comes together, you chat about the day, you talk through some things, you know, something funny's happened, and you chat about that.
Yeah.
And you get excited about the next day because you usually start looking at a map.
Hmm.
So yeah, the atmosphere in the huts is great, and it's an integral part of that alpine trekking culture is
Yeah.
going from hut to hut, which is really cool to experience.
It must be nice being in that bubble of like people who are all out doing the same thing that you've chosen to do, and you all get to like be excited about it and kind of like share that together.
Loads of like-minded people all
Yeah.
together, which is really cool.
And then we've touched on the food. So you said that like lunch, well, breakfast was like the pastries and the fruit, and then dinner you got to have like a few course meal. Did you get to like choose, or was it kind of just like this is the meal you're given, or how did the food kind of work?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's what you get given.
Hmm.
So because the huts are catering for such a wide group of people coming
Yeah.
in, and there's a lot of people staying in them, they have fixed menus.
Hmm.
Now the menus will cater for anyone who has any food allergies or preferences in the way that they eat.
Yeah.
They can account for that as long
Okay,
as
that's
they're
good.
told well in advance. They
Yeah.
can make sure that they've sorted that for people. But it's not a buffet situation. It's
Yeah.
kind of we've got these courses for you. They're all amazing. They all taste great, but
Hmm.
this is what we've got.
Yeah. And I suppose as long as the food's good, whatever you do get to eat after a day of trekking, you're just going to be excited to
Absolutely.
have that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And it tastes like the best food ever.
Yeah.
It's amazing because you're just so ready to eat, and it is actually the best food ever. To be fair,
And
it
then
tastes great.
you're getting to eat it out there as well, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So what do you think is the best time to trek the Monte Rosa Circuit? Like what time of year is good to go?
Yeah, July to August is usually the best time.
Hmm.
It's the best weather window for the Alps in terms of making sure that you don't run into too much rain or
Yeah.
inclement weather. It's the best way to avoid it. I think whilst we were out there, we had one day of heavy rain,
Yeah.
really heavy rain, and it was fine. We
Mm-hmm.
still managed to do everything that we needed to do, but the rest of our days were all sunny. Everyone
Yeah.
was in shorts and a t-shirt or very, very light clothing, you know, nothing too crazy, even at the high altitudes.
Yeah, and that's what you want when you're carrying it. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't want to be having to like wrap up all the time. It's quite
Mhm.
nice to be able to wear just a t-shirt and shorts to get around.
Yeah.
But yeah, July to August is usually the best time. Early September as well is okay, but it's starting to switch into that autumn sort of
Yeah,
showers and cold
which
weather
you
coming
don't
in.
want out there.
No,
So yeah,
definitely not.
that makes sense. And then who would you say this trek is best suited for? I know it's quite a big
Mm.
question, but
I'd say it's best for someone looking to do a step up from the Tour du Mont Blanc,
Mhm.
or maybe not even necessarily a step up, but just a change of pace.
Yeah.
Going back to that, being a lot quieter,
Mhm.
carrying all of your own stuff. That's where the step up comes from, I would say.
Yeah.
Someone who's trekked a bit before.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be in the Alps. If you've trekked in Nepal or in Pakistan, this is still a really good option for the people looking to do that. And it's a great experience. You know,
Yeah.
it's just amazing. And you need a bit of experience, but I think most people, if they've trekked, can definitely get to that fitness level to do this.
Yeah. And then do you need to have like much technical skills when you're out there, or is it very much just walking?
It's just walking.
Yeah.
It's all good. I mean, we have a glacier crossing in there,
Mhm.
and you'll pick up some very, very qualified mountain guides who will come down with
Yeah.
some micro spikes, and they'll make sure that you're all roped up and safe. And them guys will guide you through there. But
Mhm.
even then, it's still just walking. So there's
Yeah.
no scrambling involved, and
Mhm.
there's not really too much technicality to it. There's a couple of times where you might have to put a hand down on rocks to help you
Yeah.
get through a place. And I know on the last day, you definitely do have to have a bit of a head for heights. There's a balcony
Yeah.
path, which is got some exposure on it, but it's not a technical path, I would
Yeah.
say. You know, it's just walking whilst you're
And
going.
did you find that okay? Would you say you've got a good head for heights, or did it
I found it
shake you a
okay,
bit?
but yeah, even like there was sections on it where you're looking down, you're going, that's a good drop.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
You're like,
That's
don't
pretty
think
fun.
about this too
Yeah,
intensely. Just
yeah. Keep
keep
looking
walking.
forward.
Yeah.
Don't look too down. But even then, you know, it's it's such a great experience. And for me, that was a day that I still remember the most probably of any of them,
Yeah.
is because the views that you had that day, and it gives you a real sense of how big the Alps actually
Yeah.
is when you're on a balcony path like that and there's a big drop, and it's pretty cool.
It just really adds to the adventure, I think, as well. You feel like you're proper
Absolutely.
having like a real mountain day when you get to do those kinds of things. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then what advice would you give to anyone like prepared to train for this, or tips for going, or things they should take?
I think advice wise, it's that get multiple days in back
Yeah.
to back. Get used to big trekking days with a pack on. And I think as long as you get used to being able to do that, like wake up and just do it again,
Yeah.
then I think that'll set you in very good stead to be able to do the trek. You know, if you can average like a 15k day followed by another 15k day with
Yeah.
a good bit of climbing in there, then yeah, you're well on the way and going to be fairly comfortable on the trek. In terms of like equipment wise that I'd recommend taking, I found really useful to have a light technical layer.
Yeah.
So just really thin, only not much insulation in it, just to keep the wind off of your skin.
Yeah.
But it also helps with the sun, because the sun can be quite strong. Whilst you're walking around, you don't want to get sunburn or sunstroke
Yeah, no,
whilst you're up
it's
there.
horrible.
So yeah, that was a really useful bit of kit that I found I wore more than anything else, because I could trek with the pack on, have that on, covered my arms and stuff, and
Yeah.
it was all good. Didn't get too hot, so that's good.
And then did you take trekking poles, or was this not really a trekking pole kind of route?
I did have trekking poles.
Yeah.
And it's the first trek that I've ever took trekking poles on and used them. And I found it really helpful, especially on the big descent days. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and I think that's actually something I would suggest people, if they haven't used already, do whilst they're training for this.
Yeah.
Having the pack on all day and then heading downhill, it is useful to have the ability to use the poles just to take a bit of that weight off of your legs.
Yeah.
And to help you guide yourself down some of the paths.
It'll probably help with the back to back as using the trekking poles. It means you can probably last a bit longer.
Yeah, absolutely. It saves your knees and your legs a little bit
We
more.
want to save our knees so we can keep going out and doing more adventures.
Definitely,
Yeah. Well, I think we've covered everything. But if you have any questions, you can leave them, and I'm sure Aaron will be more than happy to help answer them.
Yep. No
Yeah.
problem.
But thank you very much.
Cheers.